Imagine a theater where luxury was forbidden, a place where applause was discouraged, where the orchestra was hidden away like a secret ritual, a place designed not for entertainment, but for total psychological immersion. On a quiet hill in the German region of Bavaria stands one of the strangest, most influential, and most controversial theaters ever built, the Bayreuth Festspielhaus. This isn't just an opera house. It's a machine, a philosophical experiment, and it was the final, all-consuming obsession of one of history's most debated composers, Richard Wagner. Tonight, we explore why this building exists, what makes it unlike any theater before or since, and how Wagner attempted to control not only sound but the human mind itself. To understand this theater, you first have to understand the man who dreamed it into existence. Richard Wagner did not believe opera was enough. For him, music alone was incomplete. Drama by itself was shallow. And architecture? Well, architecture was meaningless unless it served a much higher, almost spiritual purpose. Wagner was a believer, a prophet even, of what he called the Gesamtkunstwerk, the total work of art. This was a revolutionary idea where music, drama, poetry, architecture, lighting, and even the psychology of the audience would merge into a single, overwhelming, all-encompassing experience. To achieve this grand vision, Wagner came to a radical conclusion. Every existing theater in the world was a failure. He saw them as temples of distraction, palaces of gold, velvet, and sparkling chandeliers, where the wealthy went to see and be seen. He believed the traditional opera house, with its tiered boxes and social hierarchies, had turned art into a backdrop for high society gossip. People weren't there to listen, they were there to socialize. Wagner decided he had to do the unthinkable. He would build his own theater, from scratch, and it would be on his terms, and his terms alone. His first choice for this artistic temple was Munich, the grand capital of Bavaria. But Munich didn't want Wagner. He was a magnet for scandal, drowning in debt, and had made powerful political enemies. Growing hostility from city officials eventually forced him out. His dreams seemed to be collapsing. Then came an unexpected lifeline from a small, quiet, unassuming town called Bayreuth. It had no major aristocratic opera scene, no distractions, no high society to get in his way. It was a blank slate. Wagner had first learned of Bayreuth while reading about its famous Margravial Opera House, a breathtaking masterpiece of Baroque design. Ironically, upon seeing it, he rejected it completely. It was everything he hated: too ornate, too old-fashioned, too, well, theatrical. But the town itself, the quiet isolation, that felt right. The city of Bayreuth, sensing a historic opportunity, donated a piece of land on a gentle slope that would soon become known as the Green Hill. And just as importantly, Wagner found his most crucial and powerful ally, King Ludwig II of Bavaria. The so-called Mad King, a devoted and almost fanatical admirer of Wagner's work, personally guaranteed the massive loans needed for the project. Let's be clear, without King Ludwig, the Bayreuth Festspielhaus would never exist. It would have remained a fantasy on paper. Construction finally began in 1872, and what emerged from the ground shocked everyone. There was no marble, no gold leaf, no plush red velvet. The building was constructed primarily from simple brick and wood. These materials weren't chosen for their beauty or grandeur, but for one reason only: their acoustic properties. Sound was king. Inside, Wagner systematically destroyed centuries of theater tradition. First, he eliminated the private boxes. There would be no social hierarchy here, no elite balconies looking down on the common folk. Instead, he designed a single, steeply raked fan of seating, where every single seat faced the stage directly, with an equally good view. The layout was inspired by the democratic seating of ancient Greek amphitheaters. Wagner believed that all listeners must be equal before the art. This wasn't about luxury, it was about discipline. Art was a serious, quasi-religious affair, not a social gathering. But Wagner's most radical, most brilliant invention lies where the audience can't even see it. It's the orchestra pit, or rather, the hidden orchestra. Wagner dug the pit incredibly deep, sinking the musicians far beneath the stage. And then he covered them with a curved hood, a shell that he called the mystic abyss. The audience never sees the conductor's baton, the flashing bows of the violins, or the glare of the brass instruments. The sound rises as if from nowhere, perfectly blended, seeming to emanate not from a group of musicians, but from the very fabric of the drama unfolding on stage. This creates a strange and powerful psychological effect. With no visual distractions from the pit, your focus is absolute. There is no conductor to watch, no musician to distract you. Furthermore, Wagner enforced a strict rule that is still honored today: no applause between acts. The illusion must not be broken. For Wagner, this was essential. Opera was no longer a performance to be applauded. It was a ritual to be experienced. The dimming of the house lights, something we take for granted today, was pioneered here to an extreme degree. The walls were kept plain, the colors muted, the decoration minimal. Every single element of the building served one purpose: to force your complete and undivided attention onto the stage. Wagner wanted the audience trapped inside his mythological world. Even the ceiling has a story. It wasn't painted with angels or gods. Instead, it was a vast canvas painted to look like a velarium, a temporary canopy stretched over a Roman amphitheater. It was another nod to classical ideals, filtered through the lens of 19th century Romanticism. The Bayreuth Festspielhaus is, in a way, architecture without an ego. The building doesn't celebrate itself. It tries to disappear. And in doing so, it forces the music and the drama to dominate your senses completely. On August 13, 1876, the theatre finally opened its doors. And it opened with just one work, the work it was built to house, The Ring of the Nibelung. A cycle of 4 epic operas, lasting over 15 hours. A complete mythological universe brought to life. From that moment on, Bayreuth became sacred ground for Wagnerians all over the world. The Bayreuth Festival has taken place almost every summer since, a testament to the enduring power of Wagner's vision. Today, over 50,000 visitors make the pilgrimage annually. The waiting list for tickets can last for years, sometimes even a decade. Some families pass down their tickets through generations, like precious heirlooms. The festival has only been cancelled a handful of times in its long history, mostly due to the turmoil of 2 world wars. Bayreuth isn't just a theatre, it's a destination. It's a pilgrimage site for believers in the power of art. But we can't ignore the darker side of this story. Wagner's ideas were powerful, perhaps too powerful. His intense German nationalism and virulently anti-Semitic writings meant that his work later became deeply and tragically entangled with the toxic ideology of the Nazi regime. Bayreuth itself would become a politically charged and symbolically heavy place, especially during the 20th century, casting a long and difficult shadow that the festival still grapples with today. And yet, through all the controversy, all the history, the building itself remains almost exactly as Wagner designed it. It stands as a frozen vision, an architectural time capsule from a man who believed, for better or worse, that art could reshape humanity. The Bayreuth Festspielhaus is not beautiful in the conventional sense. It doesn't impress you with wealth or ornament. It doesn't flatter its audience or make them feel important. Instead, it demands your surrender. It commands your focus. Here, architecture becomes psychology, music becomes the environment, and the listener becomes an essential part of the experiment. More than just a theatre, Bayreuth remains a question, posed in brick and wood over 150 years ago. Should art just entertain us, or should it have the power to fundamentally change us? Thanks so much for watching. If you're interested in the intersection of art, history, and architecture, consider subscribing for more stories like this one. See you next time.